Hey everybody, this is EC Spade, Magnum Pawn here on the free internet chess server. And like most of my videos, I'll start by saying it's been a while since I put a video up. I'm a man of many hobbies and I kind of go through phases. My wife teases me about what's your next big thing. Um, so I've been playing video games quite a bit recently. Torchlight 2 has been pretty fun, and a couple of other games. But chess is always, one of my passions, and so I'll leave it alone for a month or two, and then I always come rolling right back in. So I got a Caro Kann game I want to share with you, as always. So here we go. We have the advanced variation. I use my A6 pet move here to try and see if I can get this situation here, which is usually what I'm looking for. You guys have seen this before, so I won't spend a ton of time explaining, but my goal obviously is to attack this d4 pawn. Now, if you haven't watched my earlier videos, I'd encourage you to go through and kind of watch those, because I explain a lot about how I want to attack this d4 pawn. This knight here acts as a defender of this pawn, so my goal is to remove the defender and then pile up on this pawn after I play c5, I play knight c6, queen to b6, stuff like that. I enjoy seeing this pretty quick. The best move for me to play here is e6. I should have played that now and let him try. A lot of times this is what I'll see, and then I can trade. I've made him kind of waste this move, weaken his king side a little bit, and I've been able to already close the center. Instead, in this game, I'm not sharp. It's been a little while, and so I went ahead and captured and then played e6. Now you see the difference here is his king side is still intact and it's his turn. So I've lost a bit here by taking that first, but it's so tempting for me. I always just kind of go for it. That's a poor move, that capture there. So here we go, c5. Now some people have argued that I lose a tempo here playing c6 and then c5. The difference is that I've gotten him to advance his pawns here, which I think is a little weak, especially without all of his pieces developed supporting it already. And so I haven't quite lost a tempo here. He moved his bishop twice. I moved mine twice, but he's lost his defender here. And I get to develop when I recapture. So you can see that our development is even in terms of our minor pieces. He's got a lonely, overextended pawn sitting out here on e5. He can castle a little earlier than me, but that's okay. I've got this strong pawn structure, so my king is safe. His light squared bishop is nowhere close to a position where he can come out here and attack my king from the queen side. I think this rook move is a little bit weak. It defends this pawn. He doesn't have a ton of great options to defend it. You can see my knight's attacking it. One would be to play bishop all the way out here to f4. So I go ahead and pile on here. I could have played knight to e7 instead from knight g to e7. I thought first I'd pile on and let him have to respond to my attacks. So here I went ahead and played knight to g to e7. Now there's an interesting line I could have played is queen to b6. Now it's moving my queen twice in a row, but it puts him to the decision here if he defends his b pawn, say in this kind of manner, then it opens up some pretty big opportunities for me starting with this check. Now he has to move his king, at which point I can take and take. And now I'm feeling pretty safe, and I've won an exchange and a pawn. So that would have been a great opportunity for me had he tried to defend his pawn that way. Bishop to e3 probably would have been his best move here. At which point this becomes a possibility. I'm up a pawn now. It's not quite like being up a pawn because I'll be able to get bullied out if he tries. Knight d2 would be his move here. I would go ahead and resolve this tension to give myself a chance to get my queen out to the center here. And now my queen's got lots of directions it can run if it gets attacked. I can go sideways along the fourth rank here, or I can just kind of slide back into the pocket. c3, you can see, queen h4 or something like that, and then I can just defend here and zip my queen back in. So now I've managed to win a pawn, get my queen back to safety. I'm a little underdeveloped, but you can see he's got two isolated pawns here, which is really poor for him. This pawn out here is extended and weak. I'll be able to recover developmentally because my structure is so strong and his is so weak. I'll be able to attack while I develop and he won't. So that option would have been neat. Instead, I just played knight g to e7 here. And we move forward. So he continues to develop here. And I went ahead and castled. Now this rook move I think is a little bit weak. I don't have a ton of better options for him. I think he didn't know what his plan was. And this comes up quite a bit for a lot of players, especially when they get stuck in a position in the middle game that they're unfamiliar with. Most e4 players expect me to play e5 or c5, and so they've gotten kind of used to king's pawn openings and Sicilians, Roy Lopez and the quiet game and things like that. And so that's what they're used to. So when they see c6 and they end up in an exchange position or a advanced position and they don't really know those lines very well, they often don't know what their plan is. And so they kind of develop their pieces in whatever feels naturally. And then they kind of think, I don't know what's next. And so they just make moves like this rook move here. It doesn't accomplish anything other than maybe letting the rooks double up later on to defend that isolated pawn. So I imagine that's his plan. But you can tell I've got a plan for my pieces, and he doesn't quite have a plan yet. So this is why I enjoy playing the Caro Kann, which is a somewhat lesser played opening, especially at lower levels. And so here we go. I got to move my knight right into a good square right in the middle here. This knight is going to be a nuisance for him, and he has to react quickly to figure out kind of what to do with this nuisance. He can't just take it right away. He's got to figure out a way to get rid of this knight. He can't push it out with a pawn without moving his knight, and so he starts by playing rook to d2 here. Now I can defend this with my other knight, and now if you see I'm developing more and more. I'm defending. I'm still attacking his pawn here on e5. My pieces are very well coordinated. His are well developed, but not necessarily towards a goal. They're just kind of moved forward a couple of ranks, if that makes sense. And you can see that my pieces have a plan for them. So here we go. He decides to move his knight out so that he can use c3 as an opportunity to push this knight away. I'm not going to give him that chance to make that play. I'd rather force his queen out here away from the action. You can see I'm playing on the queen side, and that's usually the case on the Caro Kann. Basically, in openings, you can tell which side you should play on based on which way your pawns are pointing. So you can see how this row of pawns here are all pointing towards the queen side, and that usually indicates that I should play on the queen side. If he still had his pawn here on d4 and e5, his pawns are pointing towards the king side, and so that means, in general, he should be attacking on the king side. In this game, he allowed me to keep the action on the queen side where I'm stronger, as opposed to on the king side where I'm weaker. So now I get to get my bishop up into this square on d4. So you can see I've controlled the d4 square the whole game, despite him having a pawn there at the beginning. And that's always my goal in the Caro Kann. Okay, so he brings this rook around to defend his pawn. It's a bit too little too late. You can see I've got 1, 2, 3 pieces attacking that pawn. He's got a bishop and a rook defending it. So after we trade here, I'm attacking his queen. He has to come up with a move, and he actually made what I think is a pretty good move. He uses his queen to pin the knight to my queen, and so now I'm at the question of like, what do I do with this knight? How do I defend it? Do I have to play f6 here and weaken the e6 pawn? I don't like that very much because then g7 is not really defending f6 if his queen's here. He could just take on f6 and I'm pinned. So f6 was one option that I didn't prefer. I played queen to a5 instead, which I think was the best move in the position. You can see his knight is hanging here for the taking. His rook is hanging here for the taking. If I end up getting to take this rook is here for the taking. His king is now in danger. Believe it or not, I have a back rank mate, and so he's got a lot to think about right here. He can't just snap this knight off the board. He decided to defend his knight and block the attack on the rook here, and this gives my knight another good outpost square, c4. Now he can't just kick me out again with b3 because then I win a knight the rook for free. So now he's stuck trying to figure out how to get this knight out of this other great outpost square. He can't use his pawn to do so right now. So he starts with rook to d4, attacking that knight. Now that's not going to be enough, of course, because this pawn is here to defend it. Okay, so another reason why this rook move is good is because it gives him the opportunity to maybe play rook to g4 here. And you can see with a queen and a rook, kind of a big battering ram pointing at my king, it would be a bit uncomfortable for my king. Now I'm going to move too fast on the queen side for him to be able to do this. I started with knight takes b2, and here I think his best move would be rook g4. At which point I have to play g6, so I've weakened my king's position a little bit, and then he can swing his rook over and threaten my knight, threaten my pawn. So he's getting some play here. I mean, he's behind, but he's getting some play. Instead, what my opponent did was play rook to b1, threatening this knight. So I just went ahead and captured with my queen on a3 here. And you can see he's just swamped. One last ditch effort could be to take here and hope that I blunder my queen away here. You know, if I just take back, then I'm sunk. But my opponent instead took an opportunity to blunder a rook away before he resigned. So I think he was just throwing away a piece on the way out. But so anyways, all of this I'm going to run back here to the beginning with my a6 Caro Kann, which I've discovered. I've been doing some research on this today, and I've discovered that I'm not the only person that plays a6 as my third move here in the advanced variation. So that was kind of neat. I didn't realize other people were playing this. So anyways, here what I learned from this game was to make sure that I close my center up here before I recapture, just in the off chance that he plays a6, which isn't really an off, or h3, I'm sorry, which isn't really an off chance. I see a lot of people play this move next. So lesson learned, play e6 first. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll have more videos for you soon.